I was going to say something about the new whistleblower legislation, Cynthia, but Cynthia covered that ground. I have looked at that Department of Justice report, and I've also looked at Corruption Watch's comments on that report. If that legislation is implemented, and we should call it the Babita Act. Yes. Yes. It should be called the Babita Act. If that legislation is enacted, I think those provisions potentially will make a difference. We've heard from the family, we've heard from Cynthia, and over the last few months, I have become much more aware of the extent of the suffering and protection whistles need. It's not just criminal justice. Psychosocial support, financial support, trauma counseling. You heard today from Babita's brother what this family is undergoing, is experiencing. And so from a public policy point of view, there is no question that whistleblower protection needs reform, and as Cynthia was pointing out, we're looking seriously at the Zondo Commission's proposals to set up some kind of institution which is independent, possibly will be part of the new anti-corruption agency, but an institution that is dedicated to the protection of whistleblowers. Let's remember, as we honor Babita, that there have been many whistleblowers across the country who have stood up, including you, Cynthia, including Ivan over there. And nobody but you knows what you've been through. Ivan was exfoliated for months in the media with the complicity of lawyers because he stood up against corruption and malfeasance. So, the whistleblower legislation that's currently under discussion is important. As I've said, we are looking at it carefully. Civil society has a big role in trying to ensure that the legislation is expedited. I can say that there's a lot in the new legislation that should be welcomed. But that doesn't mean that civil society shouldn't adopt a critical posture. There's been some suggestion that there should be an allocation of funds from the criminal asset account in the meantime to provide support. The National Anti-Corruption Council has provided what we call an advisory to the President. It will be made public at some point, in which we have recommended an interim solution while the legislation is being piloted through Parliament, because that might take some time, but you don't have the time to wait. So let's see if we can do something in the meantime. I'm going to come to a conclusion, Shan. I know that you worry when I'm standing in front here. When is he going to have to say your time is up? So the President appointed this council about a year ago. They all are members. They are appointed because they had an active role in civil society and for their expertise on anti-corruption issues. It's an outstanding council. We're working very hard. We are only an advisory body, so that establishes some limitations. But the President has agreed that we are independent, so we are going to form, we are going to provide advice based on the best evidence, based on what we really feel, without allowing extraneous considerations to interfere with our work. And the President has assured us that our advisories can be published. And we will publish an annual report probably in February next year. Now this is what I want to maybe conclude with. This is a very emotional question. This is a very serious issue to address. And that we should be demanding immediate justice, prosecutions, orange overalls, and the like. Whoever. In order to defend, as Murphy was saying, our democracy, because corruption affects our livelihoods. Takes our lives, affects our livelihoods, affects healthcare, keeps people poor, keeps the country impoverished, and undermines the freedoms that we fought for. To fight against corruption is nothing less than to fight for your democracy, to fight for your country. But let's be clear, as we fight, as we struggle for action now, to be prepared for the long haul, because for anti-corruption is going to be a long-term fight. I just came back from Kenya. Wonderful country, wonderful people, met outstanding public servants in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. It's their second attempt, 60 years after Uhuru. They have a problem of corruption. We are halfway, 30 years after our Uhuru. We have a problem of growing corruption. So, it's going to be long term. We have to rebuild institutions. We have to give more resources to the SIU. We have to empower the MPA. And I'm telling you, from my short time in the council, I can say the SIU is a strong institution. We have foundations to build on. The MPA has some strong people in the leadership. Maybe they have capacity constraints. The Hawks, General Beer is a good man. He is responsible for bringing those people to court yesterday. But those law enforcement agencies are not currently capacitated sufficiently to win the fight. It's not just 6 criminals out there that we are fighting against. We are fighting against criminals who are nested in our government institutions at all levels across the country. And the private sector is not excluded. So we need a long-term strategy. We need active citizenry, and we need to focus on law enforcement, but also on prevention. Education, for instance, is going to be important, because our children apparently need to learn ethics in schools. I have got no doubt that this country has the resources, the resilience, the aspirations, and the ideals to win this fight. But we are going to have to fight. Amandla Awetu, forward with our struggle. Thank you.